Thank you again. Welcome. I'm still getting people coming in here. I did some housekeeping stuff. I am recording. I hope to have this up and running as soon as possible, right? So that is my goal. We have speaker view, gallery view. We're showing recording. So I just said we have about $61,000 in money. We're not going to fundraise at the time. We're not going to spend any money until we get closer to the school year to see what our needs are. We have stuff that we usually pay for, such as calendars and grammar books, but everything is on hold until we see exactly what is happening. As far as PTO elections, we are waiting from guidance. We are waiting for guidance from FACE to see exactly how those things are going to proceed. They will keep us in our offices until October 31st. The good news is that your current office holders for the required positions, president, recording secretary, treasurer, and those three are still in effect and didn't graduate out, and we can move forward. In addition to the vice president of fundraising, those 4 office holders are still in place and will continue to work going forward. As far as I know, all 4 of us will be up for re-election and will be running for our current seats, but anybody is welcome to run against the current office holders. If this is your dream job, please feel free to let somebody know. We'll have a nominating committee. You're welcome to run, and that election will take place either the 2nd or 3rd week in October. There are also a number of non-required positions that are available because we try to expand the amount of participation as much as possible. I'm going to attempt to share the screen again real quickly. I'm getting the hang of this as we speak. So what you're looking at now are the different types of offices that are not mandatory. We have vice president of fundraising, which is presently held by Kim Gillay, vice president of parent involvement, assistant treasurer, and communications secretary. Those particular offices were never filled because we didn't have enough interest in filling them. If somebody's out there, either a new 6th grade parent or an existing parent, would like to do something, would like to take any of those roles on, that would be great. That would happen in October as well as the SLT elections. I believe we have 2 spots available. Don't quote me on that, but those positions will be up and running as well. So we're going to stop sharing that. That information is also on our Facebook group. You can, on the email I sent you a link to the Facebook group. Please join the group for information, ask questions, hook up with other parents, and anything else you might need. Okay, so that is the PTO stuff. I'm going to look at the chat. There is nothing in the chat. We have a bunch of questions, but at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Berman for his principal's report, and I know you want to speak to him and not me anyway. So, Mr. Berman, unmute yourself and go.
Thank you, Mr. Labella. Thank you for all you do for our school and for our families. And thank you to everyone who came out today. Please get engaged with our school, run for office, get involved. We need your help. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to work with some great people and some great kids, and I think you'll find it very, very rewarding. It's challenging, and it can be a little time consuming at times, but as I said, I think you can find it. I think you'll find it very, very rewarding. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're all having a great summer. I want to start off by just saying thank you, and really, I think there's one person in particular who has really been doing amazing work this summer, and that is our AP, Miss Siddiqui. She has really stepped up and taken a role that I am truly grateful for, and has really helped move things. So thank you very much, Miss Siddiqui, for all you've been doing this summer. I know it's been hard. She's got a family and kids and trying to do her things too, but she has really been tireless and relentless, and we are just so lucky to have her. So thank you, Ms. Siddiqui. Also, Mr. File, our chapter leader, has been incredibly helpful in collaborating with us. And, you know, that's something that's, you know, it's a word people talk about, but it's something I think that we really do embody. I mean, never mind the UFT gave us an award a few years ago, and we were honored at a terrific dinner about, you know, really truly collaborating. It's not about the awards, it's about what we do day to day. So I'm grateful to be able to have that relationship with Mr. File and with the UFT. I suspect we're going to talk a little bit more about the UFT and unions later. But you should know that I am a very big supporter of unions. I was on our CSA executive board for many years, and but more on that to come. There are a host of other people too, from Mrs. Forsyth working with our special education department, and really working very hard to find new special education teachers. We have, you know what, you want to hit mute all and I'll go back on, Mr. Labella?
I think I got it, Buzz.
Okay, great, thanks. We've had to hire quite a few special education teachers this year for a number of reasons. One, because our population grew, and we took on another class. Some staff members have relocated, creating other vacancies. We have other different kinds of positions that have been created. So that has been great. And we've also had teams of teachers working this summer on different aspects of reopening our school in September. Whether we have a group looking at the social emotional piece, the instructional piece, the safety piece, the programming piece, all of these things have been worked on. Really, I mean, we've been thinking about these things since school closed in March, but they're all starting to come together now as we get closer to the opening of school. I know you have an incredible number of questions. I have some answers for you. At the same time, we also have questions that remain as well. And you know, I want to share one piece of news that I just received earlier this afternoon, and that is our plan for instruction was approved by the Department of Education. What that means is that the plan, the scheduling plan that we submitted, along with our exception, was approved. To refresh everyone's place, to bring us all up to speed, that means that children will attend school for 2 consecutive days and then be home for 4 days if you selected blended learning. That also means that children who are part of our ACES program will be attending school 5 days a week, every day. Okay, so that is great news, and that we can start to begin to solidify our plans. And you're going to have an opportunity today to hear a lot about our plans, and you're going to get an opportunity to hear detail about our plans that may create more questions for you, and I do understand that, and we will get to all the questions that were submitted. And if you do have other questions, which I'm sure you will, we'll try and answer them through the chat here, through the meeting, and any other ways that we can. I want to just say, before we start talking about the questions, and before I have Mrs. Pissarro come on and talk a little bit about our plan beyond what 2 days on and 4 days off will look like for blended students, what it might look like a little bit for our remote students as well. I wanted to talk a little bit, I guess, about my last email. I guess that's an appropriate segue, where I talked about remote learning and where we're at. Where we were at was we had about 50% of our families at remote learning, significantly more now. I'll look up those numbers. But the purpose of my email, and I got some emails about it. Well, why are you pushing us to do one thing or another? I want to be really clear about something. I will never push anyone to do one thing or another. Ultimately, you are the parent. You have ultimately the decision to make for your child and about this and about all decisions. And I'm never going to force you one way or another. And I'll always be honest with you. And I'll tell you right now, it doesn't matter to us at all whether your children are remote or whether they're blended. It's not any more difficult or less difficult for us. I shouldn't say that. The only problem is if the majority of our staff put in for accommodations at home and we didn't have enough teachers in school. That's not the case. And so it really makes no difference to us whether you choose remote or whether you choose blended. It makes no difference programming, financially, it really doesn't. What I can tell you is, and Mrs. Pissarro is going to come on in a bit and tell you about, you know, our plan and what we see going forwards. But that is, it looks like most of the live instruction, if you want to maximize live instruction for your child, the way to do that is to select remote learning. Now, is that me for telling you? Listen, that might not be your priority, live instruction. Maybe your priority is that you want to have your child interact with other people in the real world. That's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. But it certainly behooves me to give you all the facts that we have. And the fact of the matter is that the most live instruction right now will take place for the remote learners. And I understand you might not understand why that is. But I promise you, you're going to get the explanation in just a moment. And hopefully you'll be able to see that what we're doing is creating a plan that can work so that we can open school. Is it the best plan? Is it the best thing in the world for education for children? Absolutely not. The best thing in the world is that we go back to school the way we normally do. That's the best thing in the world. But we can't do that, obviously. Not yet. Not yet. So beyond that, what can we do? All right. Now, the other thing I want you to understand, parents, is that there are a lot of the things that we're talking about are contingent on things that are beyond our control. And that's important to understand. There are things that are beyond our control. For example, the bandwidth issue in our school building, it's beyond our control. I have been pushing, I have been emailing, but I think so has every other school. And we're really behind on this. And any kind of streaming from school is going to be an issue. There are other issues that are also beyond our control that are not going to be resolved by me or you, or a committee, or any committee here. And those are things that have to do with the union. For example, things about teachers being recorded. Those are things that are beyond our control. I don't follow the UFT. I don't follow what the UFT says. I don't work for the UFT. They're not my boss. I do follow the Department of Education and their policies. And these are policies that transcend the school. They're not policies that we're going to make. They're policies that the DOE and the UFT will negotiate, and they'll inform us of that. And there are many things like, for example, the video issue and who's teaching what, to some extent, that remain unanswered and that will remain unanswered by us because, again, those are decisions that are beyond our control. So to help make sense of this, one of our programmers extraordinaire, we actually have a team of programmers, Stephanie, Pissarro, Mrs. Pissarro, and Ms. Muselli, who worked together. And I want to invite Mrs. Pissarro to come on and share with us a little bit about where we're at with our plan. So,
Hi, everyone.
and then we'll get to the questions. So thank you.
Okay, so we've been working to try to figure out really the best way to assign teachers to the students, and it really does depend on all of the numbers, which changes day to day. So for right now, where we are is we're going to pool really the remote-only kids together and the blended learning students together. Once we have those two groups, we'll be able to say, okay, how many teachers do we need almost in the remote learning part for our students? And as of right now, class size is going to stay at a cap of 33 from what we understand. So that will also dictate how many teachers will be teaching remotely and how many teachers will be teaching in the blended model. So for argument's sake, if we have 5 classes in 6th, 5 classes in 7th, and 5 classes in 8th, let's just say, then that would mean we would need a science teacher, a social studies teacher, an ELA teacher, and a math teacher for each grade level, right? In theory, hoping that the numbers work out that way. Then we would take out, what we did is we took our blended students and we took those numbers and we were trying to say, okay, how can we teach these students both in school and at home? The 1/3 in school and the 2/3 of them at home. And how will we have enough teachers for everybody? So the first thing I think that has to be said is the blended learners, the classes have to be condensed. So if, 601, 602, 603 won't necessarily stay intact, they're going to have to be combined so that we have enough teachers for both the blended learners and the remote only students. So
Okay.
once the classes are collapsed, now we said, okay, how many teaching periods do we have and how many instructional periods do we have? And we were able to work around it to try to give each teacher 4 teaching periods and then 1 period that they can dedicate to the blended learners that are at home. It's not very clear what type of instruction will be given during that blended learning period, but you know that when your child is at home, they will be receiving instruction from their teachers that are in their schedule from that day. So if, for example, a teacher teaches 601, 2, 3, and 4, they'll have those 4 classes in front of them, the 1/3 of them, and then they'll spend that 5th period addressing the students that are at home, that are from the blended learning group. And what we're hoping that will happen is as students change, because you can go remote only at any time. So if your child starts out as a blended learner and then you decide that you want them to move to the remote only group, we have to worry about where we're putting them without a class size going over the max of 33. So we're hoping that we'll be able to add them to that blending learning period until we have a class that's big enough to make a whole class of remote only. And then a teacher will be able to teach that 1 class as a remote only class in their schedule. That once the class is big enough. Oh, sorry. So that's, we're hoping that that's where we'll go. We'll have to create a cutoff of when we're going to start making these groups, but essentially the numbers can shift, which will change how your child is taught throughout the year or throughout this time. Does anybody have any questions about that? Or if Mr. Berman, if you want to say anything? Or...
Go ahead, Mr. Labella. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just want to listen. I know that there are people out there that haven't been able to go in. We have a 100 limit Zoom. As I said, I'm still learning the technology. People
Okay.
are suggesting all different things that we could have done. Hopefully, going forward, we're going to find out a way that the PTO can use the DOE Zoom account, which doesn't have any of these limitations.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Is there something that we can do now to get more people in?
No, not right now. If everybody can stay, I will put out an invitation for the second meeting, since this meeting is going to end at 3:40. I don't
Right.
think we'll get everything done. If everyone's able to stay, I'll send that invitation out and I'll put it in the chat.
Well, would that also have a limit of 100?
It will, but
Well, that's a problem.
I don't see us getting through everything in the next 15 minutes.
Well, why don't I send a, why don't, if you want, I can send a go-to meeting link. That'll hold up to 250.
Okay.
We can
You
do
can
that.
even do the
I don't
Zoom.
want to exclude anyone. I mean, I know time is an issue, but this is important stuff. I don't mind, doing that. And, I can set it up and at 3:30, we can all go to that meeting and I'll set it up for 3:30.
Can you do Zoom, or you just know how to do the other one?
I just know how to do the other one.
Stephanie, can you do the Zoom? Do you know how?
I know how to do Zoom, a Zoom meeting. Yeah.
A DOE? You could do a DOE Zoom?
I believe so. Yeah, because that's what I did. I taught that way. I taught through Zoom.
Okay, that's great. Only
Like
because
you.
Mr. Berman, that way she can record it, and then I can still put them both together and get it out.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't want to exclude anyone. So if
Great.
you can set that up, Mrs. Pissarro, and you want to
So
email it to.
I'll create a
Mr.
link
Pissarro?
and I'll email you the link. Is that
Okay,
correct?
great.
Yeah, put it in the
Okay.
chat and email it to Mr. Berman, and we also have to get Mimi on the line so she can email it to the sixth graders.
Okay, very good.
Okay. So
All right, so
leave
we'll
this
see you at
meeting. Is that
3:30.
what we're doing?
Yeah, let's do that now.
Yes.
I don't
Okay.
want to exclude anyone, and it's too important.
Okay.
So let's leave this up and running until we get the link so we could share it with everybody here.
If we have to
I think I have to leave though, probably, no? In order for me to create a new link?
Get to some questions in the meantime.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, I'll be back.
Maximize the time. Great. All
Thank
right.
you, Mr. Berman.
No problem. No problem. Like I said, it's too important, and I don't want anybody to be excluded. So, do you want to? Does anybody have any questions about what Mrs. Pissarro talked about so far?
There are a few in the chat, Mr. Berman.
Oh, well, you know what? Hi, Mrs. Siddiqui.
Hi.
Why don't I give you an opportunity to talk a little bit? I know you've worked with all of our teams, and I know it's a great time to give an update on that.
Okay, hello everyone. I know you have several questions about who will be teaching your students in terms of blended learning, and hopefully we'll be able to address that soon. Please keep in mind, and I know as a parent myself, choosing what was the best model for my own children was something that had taken a lot of thought and discussion within the family. In terms of families who have not answered the survey and are planning to go remote, that does make it very difficult for us to create our cohorts of students. So once you as a family have made that decision and to answer that survey, I think will be extremely helpful for us on our end to effectively be able to make new groups of students within the classes. We do have over 25 teachers and guidance counselors working this summer, working on a myriad of different teams, one of which is our programming team, another of which would be what would be the most successful and engaging and interacting way teachers would be able to work remotely with students via live instruction and flipped classroom. In addition, we have another team of teachers about what would be the most effective policy for students working online and what the expectations would be so that we would be able to interact with our students and get to know them the way that we would do in person. In addition to that, we have another team that is working on SEL instruction to be able to have a specific curriculum that is catered to the 6th grade, the 7th grade, and the 8th grade. Each being different because each grade will have different needs. We also have a student group working on how to introduce themselves to our 6th graders to be able to get to know them. They're writing letters, they're creating videos, they're sending that out. So we do have a tremendous effort in terms of a school's community to be able to plan effectively, plan incredible instruction for our students via remote or blended learning. Mr. Berman will be able to discuss with you who will be teaching the blended learners. as well as the teachers who will be, or the students who will be remote. As a school, we are trying our best to handle everything in-house, to know that our 187 students, hopefully, Mr. Berman can clarify that, will be taught by 187 students. However, we're still waiting for additional information. But I can assure you the teachers are working tirelessly. Mr. Berman, our programmers and our teams. Please, the one thing, please understand that information changes daily. So we're trying to adjust that information to be able to plan effectively so that we understand and we will be able to turnkey information to you without any major changes coming in September. So we are waiting till we have a full gamut of information to be able to make changes and be able to make a program that is sound, that is set, that does not have any mistakes in it, so you can plan effectively for your family and what you need to do in order to get your child to school. We will try to answer all of the questions that you have. I'll put my email in the chat if there's anything specifically that you would like to ask me, or I can turnkey to Mr. Berman. Please do so. I am available and I will hopefully be able to answer all of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Siddiqui.
Thank you.
So one question that keeps popping up is about what's going to happen on the first day of school. And I believe we're going to have 3 first day of schools, right? And once you figure out who's doing what, a letter will go out about who has to show up where. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, definitely. And I know I'm actually trying to get the code for the meeting now too. But yeah, there is a deadline that we're supposed to give parents their schedules by, and I believe it was August 24th. We do really want to do that, and we do really want we want to be able to get that to you. But at the same time, we also want to be able to, as Mrs. Pissarro was talking about, create our groups in as thoughtful a way as we possibly can. And so when these groups are in flux and they're changing, that becomes difficult for us. Now, again, because that's difficult for us, ultimately there comes a point where we're going to have to say, okay, we're not going to make any more changes now. And any student who goes remotely, we have a place for them, but it might not be with their class, it might be with another class or whatever. And then when we get enough of those students, right, 33 of them, we'll create another class. So we're ready to do all of those things. But given what we know, I want to provide you with that information that we can. So I have the code and the password for our new meeting. I'll put it in the message here so you all have it. There is the meeting link, and the password is cheese. No, I'm kidding. It's not cheese. It's there.
Mr. Berman, the one question that I'm seeing repeated in the chat is about, will 187 teachers be responsible for the remote students, the ones who are remote only?
Hold on one second, please.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, say again, Ms. Siddiqui?
The one question that's repeated is parents are concerned that if they are remote and remote only, would it be 187 staff responsible for them?
That's a great question. And right now, the way Mrs. Pissarro and team are creating the program, all instruction is given by 187 teachers. We can do that. Now, again, whether the city goes along with that, I don't know what their plans for remote instruction are. They haven't told us. So we're sort of working in a vacuum to some extent, but I can tell you right now, we can do blended learning and remote instruction with all of McAuliffe's teachers, without any other teacher, without assigning kids to go anywhere else. And that's having our ACES kids in school 5 days a week and the plan that we talked about. So I think we should probably take a moment now and jump over to the next meeting if
Okay,
if
let's
that makes sense.
let's give us a few minutes. So let's say we're
Mhm.
going to start at 3:40, so everyone gets a chance to do what they have to do and jump on.
Okay, that works for me.
And may I ask if you send out an email so people can click on the link and someone can reach out to Mimi to send an email to 6th grade parents?
Very good.
I sent it to her already.
Oh, good.